the chains of honor asterisk. The crowd stood in silence as the drums stopped beating. Dust swirled around the great stone platform, where the alien warrior knelt with her head lowered. Chains wrapped around her arms and neck, glowing faint blue to cancel her strength. She was a fighter, once feared across battlefields, but now, she was called a traitor. Karath of the Drellin. People had fought many wars. Her name was whispered with respect and fear across the stars. But she had made one mistake. She had saved a human soldier, and now, her own kind wanted her dead for it. The three judges stood above her, faces covered in golden armor. One of them raised a hand, ready to speak the final words. The crowd waited, breaths held, eyes sharp. This was to be a clean execution, no speech, no mercy, no delay. But someone moved through the crowd, slowly, with purpose, a human, tall and scarred. Wrapped in a traveler's cloak, he pushed past the guards without fear. When they raised their weapons, he lifted his hand and shouted something old, something forbidden, right of protection. The words echoed like thunder in the stone square. The judges froze, their hands trembling. The crowd gasped, not because of what he said, but because he had the courage to say it. Only warriors could call the right, and only if they had been marked in battle by the one about to die. The judges looked at Karath, her eyes wide for the first time in days. She recognized the human Daniel Briggs, the soldier she had saved on the battlefield months ago. She had pulled him from the fire, hidden him in a cave, and treated his wounds. He had promised to repay her, and now, here he was. The oldest judge stepped forward, voice shaking. You understand the law. Human, he said, if you claim the right, you take the punishment. Daniel nodded, stepping onto the platform. I understand, he said. I will take her mark. The crowd whispered in shock. The mark he spoke of was not a medal, not a reward. It was a sacred brand burned into the skin, a sign of shared fate. He would be tied to Karath by ancient law, respected by few, hated by many. Karath tried to speak, but Daniel raised his hand. I owe you my life, he said. Let me give it back. The judges had no choice. By their own code, they could not kill her now. The execution was stopped, and the guards lowered their weapons. Karath stood, her chains unlocking with a hiss. She stepped beside Daniel, tall and proud. Their eyes met. In that moment, everything changed. The crowd didn't cheer, they didn't move, they simply watched, because for the first time in generations, a human had stepped into fire, not to fight, but to protect. Asterisk, the mark of the branded asterisk. The blade meant to end Karath's life still floated in the judge's mechanical grip. Its glow faded slowly as silence spread over the execution square. The crowd stood frozen, not because the execution failed, but because of what had just begun. The human had called an ancient right, a law older than most who stood watching. Daniel Briggs stood beside Karath now, his cloak off, his chest bare. He had agreed to take the brand, a sacred mark that would tie him to her by blood and oath. To the Drellin people, this was not an act of bravery, it was an insult, but tradition bound them to respect it. Two guards approached him, holding a glowing staff, its tip pulsing with red light. This was the brand of blood honor, not just a symbol, it was pain, sacrifice, and bond. Once placed on his skin, he would no longer be seen as fully human nor fully outsider. He would become Victa, a branded one, a living promise. Karath stepped closer, her chains now removed. Do you even know what this means, human? She asked in a low voice. Daniel nodded without blinking. You saved me when no one else would, he said. Now I return the favor. The staff touched his chest, and the mark burned into him. He gritted his teeth, refusing to scream. A curved symbol, like flame wrapped around a blade, spread across his skin in glowing lines. The crowd gasped, some turned away. Others shouted in anger. One judge stepped forward and spoke to Karath. You are free, warrior, but now, you carry him as your equal. His death is your shame, his honor is your burden. Karath looked at Daniel, then to the crowd. I accept this, she said. We are bound now, but not all agreed. In the shadows above the square, a hidden sniper received orders. Remove them both, came the voice through the earcom. The tribunal might follow ancient law, but not everyone wanted old traditions to rise again. As Daniel and Karath began to leave the square, a silent shot fired from above. Karath moved fast, faster than anyone expected. She grabbed Daniel and pulled him behind a stone pillar just in time. The energy blast missed by inches, burning through the wall. Chaos erupted. People screamed and scattered. Guards drew weapons. Karath's eyes narrowed, her instincts returning. They're not done with us, she growled. Daniel drew a small sidearm from his belt. Then let's run, he said. No, she replied, gripping her spear. We fight our way out. Together, they moved through the alleyways of the old city. Chased by unknown enemies, from enemies to allies, from strangers to bonded. Now they were hunted not just by soldiers, but by history itself, and only one path remained, through fire, stone, and memory, survival. Bound by fire and oath *, smoke curled across the broken cliffs as night fell over the Drellin Highlands. Alien drones buzzed low over the dark rocks, scanning for heat. Kareth crouched near a collapsed archway, her spear ready, her body still. Beside her, Daniel leaned against a boulder, holding his wounded shoulder and breathing heavy. The brand on his chest glowed faintly through his torn shirt. Tip pulsed with his heartbeat. They're closing in, Daniel whispered. Kareth didn't answer. She was listening not to the noise around them, but to the silence. That silence meant one thing. The assassins were near, not soldiers. Not hunters, executioners sent by the high houses to finish what the tribunal could not. You should have let me die, she muttered. Daniel gave a tired smile. And missed this adventure. She glanced at him, her eyes sharp, but there was respect now. Not just for saving her, but for standing beside her when the world turned away. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the ridge, then another. Kareth spun and hurled her cracked against metal. A figure fell with a grunt, cloak dissolving into dust. They've found us, she said. Stay close. They ran through ancient ruins, chased by sharp bolts of plasma and silent footsteps. The Drellin city was once a place of learning. Now it was a graveyard of stone and secrets. As more assassins surrounded them, Kareth stopped and turned. No more running, she said. Let them come. Daniel stood beside her, blaster raised. He wasn't trained like her, but he had something no weapon could match. Will. You fight with honor, Kareth said. I see it now. And you don't fight alone, he replied. They clashed with the assassins in a burst of fire and fury. Kareth moved like lightning, her spear flashing with brutal grace. Daniel covered her back, sharp and focused. Each shot true. Together, they fought like one. The bond between them stronger than blood. Even the assassins paused for a moment. They saw not a warrior and a human. They saw a legend being born. When the last attacker fell, the ruins were quiet again. Kareth dropped to her knees. Breathing hard, Daniel knelt beside her, placing a hand on her armored shoulder. We're still alive, he said. For now, she replied. But everything has changed. News of their survival reached the cities within hours. The broadcast Daniel had secretly sent from the ruins went viral across the stars. It showed Kareth protecting him, standing against her own people, fighting not for war but for justice. The Drellin Empire could no longer hide what she did. And now, many began to question the laws written in old blood. Kareth and Daniel did not return as fugitives. They returned as a new symbol of bond, of truth, of future. The brand that once marked him as cursed now shined with pride. Two enemies became allies, bound by fire and oath. And somewhere across the galaxy, a warlord watched their rise with fear.